Imagine standing on a battlefield. And not just any battlefield, but one where the real fight isn't just external, between armies. It's inside you, tearing you apart.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by everyone you love, everyone you learn from, family, teachers, friends.
Everyone who matters.
Exactly. And then you're asked to do the unthinkable. Fight them. Kill them. I mean, how do you even begin to choose? What happens when your heart just screams, no, but duty demands, something horrific?
It's that profound, almost paralyzing internal conflict, isn't it? A dilemma so deep it could bring, and does bring, even the mightiest warrior to his knees. And it's precisely this moment, this deep confusion and how it starts to unravel that we're diving into today.
Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping into, more than just an ancient text. It's a journey into consciousness itself, guided by the Bhagavad Gita. Our mission: to unpack that critical shift, that pivot from total despair to the very first steps toward clarity.
And we're drawing heavily on a really insightful talk by Swami Aparajitananda from Chinmaya Mission Bengaluru to guide us.
Yes, we're moving from that intense emotional paralysis in Chapter 1, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despondency, into the foundational second chapter, Sankhya Yoga.
In this shift, it's huge. It's not just turning a page. This is where the real teachings, the core wisdom of the Gita, truly begin. It's the pivot point from raw human emotion to the dawn of, let's say, spiritual understanding.
Okay, so let's set the scene properly. To really get why Chapter 2 is so significant, we need to remember where Arjuna is at the end of Chapter 1. Kurukshetra, this vast plain, two massive armies, Kauravas, Pandavas, facing off.
The tension is just immense. You can almost feel it, the fate of a kingdom hanging in the balance.
And right then, Arjuna, probably the greatest warrior there, makes what sounds like a simple request to Lord Krishna, his charioteer. He says, hey, take my chariot between the armies so I can see who I'm up against.
Seems purely tactical, right? A warrior assessing the enemy, standard procedure almost.
But it's not. Krishna, knowing exactly what's going on deep down, places the chariot right in front of Bhishma Arjuna's grandfather and Dronacharya, his main teacher.
The ones he respects most.
Absolutely. And bang! The realization hits Arjuna like a physical blow. It's not an enemy line he sees, it's his family, his teachers, his friends, his whole world arrayed against him.
Yeah, the text is very specific. It lists fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, in-laws, uncles, friends, relatives, and crucially on both sides.
Both sides. So this isn't just another war for him, not like his past victories. This is tearing his world apart.
Exactly. It presents this agonizing dilemma. Winning means destroying everything he holds dear. Losing is unthinkable too, but winning, what kind of victory is that?
And the text says he's instantly filled with grief and sorrow. You can just feel the weight crushing him. It's not about glory anymore. It's about the cost. A kingdom built on the blood of his own people. How could that bring any joy?
It fundamentally changes the meaning of success for him. And his distress isn't just mental. It manifests physically, immediately. The Gita gives us this incredibly vivid description. Arjuna himself tells Krishna.
What does he say?
He starts, my limbs are feeling like they're giving way, losing all strength. Gachrani Siddhanti.
Wow.
Then, my mouth is getting dried up. Mukham Chaparshushadi, classic anxiety symptom.
I think we can all relate to that feeling, dry mouth under stress.
Totally. And it gets worse. My whole body is trembling, he says. Vipathu sharin me. Uncontrollable shaking.
Like a physical reaction to the horror.
Yes, and there is hair standing all over the body, Romaharshana Jayati, goosebumps, horripilation, pure nervous system overload.
And for a warrior, this must be devastating.
Exactly. He says, my hand, Gandivam, his famous divine bow, is slipping. Gandivam strainin hastat. He's losing his grip, literally and figuratively, losing his identity as a warrior.
That's powerful imagery. The bow slipping.
It continues. The skin is getting burnt. Tivak chaiva pardahait, like an internal fire of anguish. He feels like he's burning up inside.
Just consumed by it.
And then, I'm not even able to stand with a motive. Nacha shaknomi avasaram. It's not just physical weakness. His will, his purpose has dissolved.
He's lost his why.
Precisely. And finally, my mind is feeling as though it is reeling. Brahmati chamemana. Complete mental chaos. Dizziness, confusion, clear thought is impossible. It's a total shutdown.
So from that state, that utter collapse, he tries to explain himself, right? Tries to justify why he can't fight.
Yes, he frames it as a moral dilemma. He's convinced fighting these people would be terribly wrong. He flat out refuses to fight his gurus and elders like Bhishma and Drona. It's not right for us to fight, he insists.
His moral compass is just spinning, completely skewed by emotion.
And he doesn't just focus on his personal feelings. He paints this really grim picture of the future if the war happens. He foresees terrible societal consequences.
Like what?
He says millions of women will turn into widows, children will turn into orphans. He believes this will inevitably cause society to break down, leading to criminal elements, antisocial elements taking over, pure chaos.
So he sees it leading to widespread ruin and, what was the term? Dharma?
Yes, adharma, unrighteousness, a violation of cosmic and social order. So his conclusion, from his perspective, seems logical. We are intelligent enough to understand civil consequences. Therefore, we will step back. He genuinely thinks retreating is the wise, the moral thing to do here.
Equating inaction with wisdom in this specific awful context.
Exactly. And that leads to the final image of chapter 1. He literally drops the bow, he drops the arrows, and then he finally just collapses on the chariot. Complete surrender to despair. End of chapter 1.
Wow. And, that state, that feeling of being utterly overwhelmed physically and mentally paralyzed by emotion, it's so relatable, isn't it? Even for Arjuna, this legendary hero.
Absolutely. The source material highlights this universality. It's a classic example of how intense emotion can just completely shut down our intellect, blur our vision. We've all been there, maybe not on a battlefield, but facing something that feels too huge, too personal.
Frozen, unable to think clearly.
Exactly. Emotions overruling intellect.
So that's the setup. Arjuna in pieces. And then silence. Krishna hasn't said anything yet. Arjuna has decided he won't fight. The stage is perfectly set for, so something transformative.
That silence is so potent, it's the pause before the wisdom begins. And that brings us right to chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga.
Sankhya Yoga. Okay, what does that actually mean? The name itself. Swami Aparajitananda breaks it down for us in the source.
He does. Sankhya comes from 2 parts, Sam, meaning very well, and Jnana, meaning to know or to describe.
So Sankhya means very well known or very well described.
Precisely. And the definition given is key. That with which the nature of the self is very well known is called Sankhya. It's the knowledge, the clear understanding that describes our true self, our essential nature, perfectly.
Okay, so it's about self-knowledge, not just any knowledge.
Exactly. The Swami is very clear. Sankhya is nothing but Upanishad, or Sankhya means Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of Brahman, the Supreme Self. It's the core teaching of the Upanishads, which is about the Supreme Self, or Atma, our eternal essence.
So putting it all together, Sankhya Yoga means
the science which unites with our own Supreme Self. That's the core meaning. It's shifting the focus from the external battle to the internal journey of realizing your true, unchanging nature.
Ah, okay. So that's why this chapter gets that name, because it focuses on the self.
Yes, primarily. It contains an elaborate discussion on the topic of Supreme Self, who are we? It directly tackles that fundamental question of identity that Arjuna's emotions have completely obscured.
And it's not just theory, right? You mentioned it describes the person who has this knowledge too.
That's right. It's not just the what, the knowledge of the self, but also the who. It describes the man of realization of this knowledge in detail. This includes the famous Stitha Prajna Lakshana, the characteristics of a person whose wisdom is firm, whose mind is steady.
So it gives you the goal and a picture of what reaching that goal looks like, a blueprint for living that wisdom.
Exactly. And before diving deep, Krishna's very first response to Arjuna's grief is this incredibly direct, almost blunt clarification.
What does he say first?
He essentially cuts right through the sorrow. Arjuna, Krishna, no need to grieve. Why? Because from the highest point, there is no death for anyone. Only the body dies, but nobody dies.
Wow. Straight to the core. The body is temporary, the self is eternal.
That's the foundational message of self-knowledge that underpins all of Sankhya Yoga. It directly challenges the root of Arjuna's grief, his identification with the temporary body and relationships based on that.
That feels like the real aha moment. Understanding Sankhya as self-knowledge just reframes everything, doesn't it? The battle isn't just physical anymore, it's internal. It's about finding clarity by understanding who you really are.
It's a complete paradigm shift, moving from external confusion to internal truth. And it suggests clarity begins right there with understanding your true nature.
A radical reorientation indeed. Which brings us to how Krishna actually begins this teaching. And it starts with some pretty strong words, doesn't it? Part 3. Krishna's scolding.
Yes, it does. Chapter 2 opens with Sanjaya, the narrator, describing Arjuna's state to Dhritarashtra. He's still slumped on the chariot, overcome by pity, Kripaya Vishtam, his vision blurred by tearful eyes, Ashurpurnakoleksham, and drowning in sorrow, Vishidantam. still completely broken.
And that phrase, Ashapranakalectum, blurred vision,
Yeah.
the source says it's more than just tears, right?
Much more. It indicates his inner eye is blurred. Why? Because he was absorbed by emotions of pity and grief. The Swami makes a crucial point. When emotions rule, you're not able to think clearly. When they overrule, you're not able to see clearly. Inner vision is obscured.
That makes so much sense. It's like wearing emotional blinders.
Exactly. And the source distinguishes between the two main emotions overwhelming him, kripa and vishada.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Kripa is pity or compassion. The Swami explains it as, when I suffer because of others' suffering, it's empathy-driven sorrow. Arjuna suffers seeing the potential suffering of his loved ones.
Got it. And Vishada.
That's sorrow or grief. When I suffer because of my own suffering. This is Arjuna's personal anguish, the horror of killing his own family, the guilt, the consequences he will face.
So, Kripa is outward-focused suffering, Vishada is inward-focused, though both are painful.
Precisely. And together they create this internal blurred vision, this total lack of clarity in thinking. His state is a direct result of this emotional storm.
And that's the state Krishna responds to, not with gentle comfort, but with, well, a scolding.
That's putting it mildly. The source calls them hard words, thunder-like verses. Krishna shows no sympathy for Arjuna's justification at all. It's a shock tactic almost.
What's the first thing he says?
Kutastva kashmalam idam, a sharp question. Arjuna, from where did you get this problem, this kashmalam?
Kashmalam, what does that mean exactly?
It means concentrated impurity, delusion of the mind, intense delusion. Krishna is basically asking, how did you, of all people, fall into this impure delusional state?
Wow. So questioning the very validity of Arjuna's feelings.
Yes, and their appropriateness. He adds, Vishamasamupasitam. At such a critical moment, how did you land up in this intense delusion? He's stressing the terrible timing. This isn't the time for a breakdown.
The stakes are too high.
Exactly. Then he hits him with anarajishtam. This is not something an Arya, a noble person, would approve of or indulge in.
Okay, Arya here means noble. What defines nobility in this context? The Swami elaborated, right?
Yes, crucially. An Arya is, first, someone who makes decisions for the welfare of all, not just personal preference. Second, someone who lives a life based on righteousness, on Dharma. And third, someone ready to sacrifice his life for the welfare of all.
So Arjuna wanting to back out is an Arya unnoble because it ignores the greater good, ignores Dharma, and prioritizes his personal feelings over his duty to uphold righteousness.
That's exactly Krishna's point. It's a harsh assessment, calling him out for falling short of that noble ideal.
And it doesn't stop there.
No. He says Arjuna's state is asvargyam. It will not take you to heaven.
Okay, how so?
Two meanings here, according to the Swami. Societally, if a kshatriya warrior shirks a righteous war, it lets unrighteousness prevail hell upon earth. Personally, failing your dharma means you will not go to heaven after death, whereas dying fulfilling your duty in a righteous war leads directly to heaven for a kshatriya.
So it has both worldly and otherworldly negative consequences.
Yes, and then akirtakaram. It will only bring you infamy, disgrace. Running away won't look like peace, it'll look like cowardice. His reputation, everything he stands for as a warrior, will be destroyed.
That would be a huge blow to a kshatriya's honor.
Absolutely. Then comes maybe the strongest term, klebya masmagam apartha. Do not yield to this impotence, O son of Pritha.
Impotence, that sounds incredibly harsh.
It is. The literal meaning is very shaming for a warrior, implying weakness, being neither man nor woman. But the deeper meaning, the Swami clarifies, is intellectual impotence.
So not just physical weakness, but mental paralysis.
Yes, you are not able to take a decision. It's about the inability to use your intellect, your will, because emotions have taken over.
That's a really sharp insight. Intellectual impotence.
And finally, Krishna wraps it up. Kushudram hridaya durbalyam. Give up this petty weakness of heart.
Petty weakness of heart. Meaning?
It means narrow-mindedness, narrow vision. Arjuna is only seeing his own pain, his own attachments. He's not seeing the total picture, the larger context of Dharma. This weakness of heart, the Swami says, stems from misplaced emotions, blocking him from his duty.
Wow. Krishna really doesn't pull any punches. It's a brutal, direct confrontation of Arjuna's entire emotional state and reasoning.
It is, and it provides such powerful insights for us, doesn't it? How easily emotions, even seemingly noble ones like compassion, can blind us to our duties, to the bigger picture. Krishna's bluntness is a wake-up call.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about your own Kashmela moments. Times when maybe pity or sorrow or fear just completely clouds your judgment, when you can't see clearly, or maybe delay acting because of that intellectual impotence or weakness of heart. It's uncomfortable to consider.
Very. And what's fascinating is, even after that barrage from Krishna, Arjuna doesn't immediately snap out of it. He argues back.
He does, still defending his position.
Yes. Which brings us to part 4. Arjuna's unwavering, though flawed, logic. He responds basically asking, how can I possibly fight Bhishma and Drona with arrows? How can I strike them?
He goes back to their status, their relationship to him.
Exactly. He calls them pujarhau, worthy of worship. He insists they should be revered, worshipped. He says about Drona, I learned everything from him. I should be bowing at his feet, not shooting arrows at him.
It's a powerful emotional argument, rooted in respect and tradition.
Deeply rooted. He even tries to use Krishna's own actions against him, reminding him he's Madhusudana, the killer of the demon Madhu. As if to say, you kill demons, fine, but killing a guru, a grandfather, that's different. That's something I can't do.
Drawing a moral line in the sand.
Yes, and then he delivers his core counterargument. It is far better to beg and live than to fight against them and kill them. He explicitly says he prefers bhajam, living on alms, like a beggar.
Then ruling a kingdom won by killing these Mahanubhavan, these great exalted people.
Precisely. He argues that even if he wins, gets the kingdom, the wealth, the Arthaka man, what's the point? It will be drenched in blood. He concludes, I prefer the second one, poverty over a blood-stained throne.
From his emotional viewpoint, it sounds almost noble, doesn't it? Choosing poverty over violence against revered elders.
It does sound compelling, but the Swami points out the fundamental flaw again. Arjuna is not thinking with respect to Dharma. He's focused entirely on his personal relationships, his feelings, the material outcome, kingdom, but not on the core question. What is Dharma and what is adharma in this situation?
What is the righteous course of action, regardless of personal feelings?
Exactly. And that's where understanding the context of the war is vital, as the Swami explains it.
Right. This wasn't just some random conflict.
Not at all. It was a Dharma Yuddha, a righteous war. Remember, Dhritarashtra, being blind, wasn't technically fit to rule according to the Dharma Shastras. Pandu, Arjuna's father, was the rightful king.
So the injustice started way back.
Yes. After Pandu died, Dhritarashtra held onto the kingdom unjustly. The Pandavas fulfilled their 13-year exile, met all conditions, yet Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra's son, refused to give them back even a tiny part of their rightful kingdom, not even 5 villages, famously saying he wouldn't give even the space of a needle without a fight.
So the war was truly a last resort.
Absolutely. All peace efforts, even Krishna himself going as an ambassador, had failed. For Arjuna, as a kshatriya, fighting this specific war was his dharma, his duty to uphold justice and restore order. His personal feelings, however understandable, were obscuring that duty.
It really highlights how easily we can build these elaborate justifications based on emotion to avoid doing what's right but difficult. We convince ourselves inaction is noble, when really it might be neglecting our dharma.
A very human tendency. And it's only after exhausting all his arguments and still remaining utterly confused, knowing he's in a lose-lose situation emotionally, that the real shift happens.
The true beginning, Arjuna's surrender.
Yes. He's argued, he's justified, he's pleaded, and he's still lost. The source emphasizes that the real starting point of the Gita's teaching isn't Krishna refuting every point, but Arjuna finally stopping his own advising.
He stops trying to tell Krishna how it is.
Exactly. For a while there, the student was advising the teacher. But now, in the verses that follow this exchange, Arjuna becomes silent. He completely surrenders. He says, I am confused about my duty. Please tell me decisively what is good for me. I am your disciple. Instruct me, who have taken refuge in you.
Ah, so he explicitly asks for guidance, becomes the student.
That's the critical moment. The student is finally ready, open, receptive, humble. That surrender is the doorway through which the Gita's wisdom can truly enter.
And that's such a powerful lesson for us, isn't it? True learning, real clarity, doesn't always come when we think we have it all figured out, when we're busy arguing our case.
Often it comes when we hit a wall, when we admit, I don't know, I'm confused. And we become humble enough to actually ask for guidance, to truly listen.
To surrender our own flawed reasoning, our attachments, and open up to something deeper. It makes you reflect on your own life. Where might you need to stop arguing and start listening? Where might surrender be the path to clarity? Letting go of the need to be right and opening up to what is right, even if it's challenging initially.
What a journey. Just in these first few interactions of Chapter 2, we saw Arjuna's total collapse under the weight of grief and pity.
witnessed Krishna's sharp, almost brutal wake-up call challenging the delusion, the weakness.
And began to unpack the meaning of Sankhya, not just philosophy, but the essential knowledge of the self, the Atma.
Seeing how misplaced emotions, even good emotions like compassion, can completely distort our perception of duty, of Dharma. I think the key takeaway really is universal. Arjuna's struggle is our struggle. We all have times when emotions cloud our intellect, paralyze us.
And the first step towards clarity, as the Gita shows here, isn't just analyzing the external situation better. It's about understanding our internal state, our emotions, our attachments, and being willing to look beyond them, towards a deeper truth about who we are and what our real duty is.
So maybe a final thought for you listening right now. Where in your life might Kripa pity? Maybe for others, maybe for yourself, or Vishada, sorrow, grief, regret, be clouding your inner vision.
Is it stopping you from seeing the whole picture? Or preventing you from acting in line with your deepest values, your true self, your Dharma?
And perhaps more pointedly, are you ready, like Arjuna finally became, to acknowledge that confusion, to humbly seek clarity, even if the answers are difficult? What decision might you be delaying because of that intellectual impotence, that weakness of heart Krishna spoke of?
Something to definitely ponder.
Indeed. We'll leave you with that. Join us next time for another deep dive.